Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris and Milton here for Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode number 114. Tonight, the topic, as you could probably imagine if you're in the Star Wars sphere of things, which I imagine you are if you're watching or listening to this podcast, we're talking about the awesome new Ahsoka trailer, the final trailer for the live action limited series coming out in just a couple of weeks. Ben couldn't join us this week, but he'll share his input next week's episode of what he thought about the trailer, because there's so much to break down in this trailer. It's funny though, Milton, because it's like as soon as the gaze of Lucasfilm like leaves Indiana Jones behind, it's like boom, instantly we just like, oh, here's an Ahsoka behind the scenes thing. Oh, here the next day, here's an Ahsoka trailer. So they're going full steam ahead with the promotion.
I mean, look, I think with how things played out with that particular movie, it probably was the smart move to go this route. I mean, we talked about it last week regarding, you know, Indiana Jones bombing, that type of thing. And is Lucasfilm going to continue to move forward with that property or even with Star Wars? I think Ahsoka releasing that trailer is probably the best move. It's smart. I mean, because it's a hot property. Like, everyone loves that character. And they're trying to get away now from the stink of what Indiana Jones was.
Yeah, it's a sad reality about these marketing cycles is things are quick to kind of get swept under the rug, so to speak, when things don't go according to plan. And we talked about that a lot last week. We got a lot of engagement, by the way. I want to thank everybody that has gone back after the fact and watched last week's episode, because that was probably the number one episode we've done on this podcast. Imagine, setting the tone for a title of an episode where it's not exactly the most positive thing, like Lucasfilm maybe not doing non-Star Wars things got us the most views. So no, we're not going to chase trends and do negative content. But I just thought it was an interesting look back on last week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I saw you guys talk about it in the group chat last week. I think I was on my way to work. Whenever I think it was you or Ben were like, "Hey, we got like how many views or whatnot," and I was like, "Huh?" And I actually looked and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty crazy." Which, I mean, that's awesome. Like, I'll take that all day. I think that's really cool that people were interested in like other stuff that we were talking about besides Star Wars or Indiana Jones. So it's greatly appreciated. And obviously, we're here to do Star Wars podcast. But like the one comment I went to read it, I think you might have replied to it. The one guy said it's like listening to friends talk or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that as he's right. I mean, we're just guys, just on a podcast talking and talking about stuff that we love, whether it's Star Wars, Indiana Jones, theme parks, sports, whatever. We just have a place where we can just be ourselves. So that comment is very much appreciated, and it's nice to see that particular video has gained the numbers. I hope that continues to snowball and bring in more followers and views.
Heck yeah, we're all about spreading the positive reach of Star Wars and what that can do, affecting our lives. And speaking of the positive Star Wars affecting our lives, I have a little show and tell. Remember, if you are listening to this podcast, you can see what I'm about to show you on youtube.com/Starrapter. So join us every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, because you can join in the chat, see cool things that I might show off, and different things like that. So I got in the mail, and it's one of those things where I pre-ordered this so long ago that it just appeared in the mailbox, and I was like, oh, I completely forgot I ordered this. And that is the Tales of the Jedi Volume 3. I know, guys, it's crazy. In my hands, I have a Legends piece of material. I know it's not often that I show this stuff off on camera. Not that I'm against Legends, as I've always said, I just don't have time to read this stuff. And it's funny because I have Volume 3, I haven't even cracked open Volume 1 yet, but I know this thing is so highly sought after that if I don't buy it immediately, it's going to skyrocket in price to like $100 something versus the usual $40. But yeah, this is one of the oldest tales in Star Wars, apparently. I think it deals with like Ulic Qel-Droma. Yeah, Ulic Qel-Droma, Exar Kun, 4,000 years before A New Hope. So yeah, I'm collecting just the stuff that takes place before A New Hope, basically, or before the prequels even. So that's what I have to show off this week. I don't know if you've ever read. We probably talked about this before, Milton, but have you read any of these old Dark Horse comics from back in the day that have those Jedi in it?
No, I mean, I haven't read anything from Dark Horse that has to do anything before the prequels. I mean, think the only thing that's prequel to me that I actually read was Darth Plagueis. Like it was
Mm,
before, but also around that time.
yep.
And then Dark Horse Comics came out in like the I guess 80s and 90s of like post Return of the Jedi. I've
Hmm.
watched or I've listened or I've read some of them. So yeah, like I'm not really familiar with that comic book.
Yeah, no, it supposedly has this character named Nomi Sunstrider and Marco Ragnos, Exarchun, Euclid. So it is setting the foundations, and we had him on the show before, Ben from Star Wars Timeline. He's the guy that got me into this Tales of the Jedi stuff because at the time there was a show coming out which came out and we loved it called Tales of the Jedi, oddly enough, had nothing to do with these comics. Now, maybe they can still go back. I mean, they're going to have season two. Wouldn't that be funny if they actually went back and did a Tales of the Jedi canonization of one of these stories? I doubt it, but there's still hope. But anyway, yeah, so I got into that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to eventually reading that because just this week we have a new Star Wars book coming out, Rise of the Red Blade, written by Delilah S. Dawson, about a Jedi turning into an Inquisitor. So I'm really looking forward to that because I think that's a very interesting look at how a Jedi can fall to the dark side and work for the Empire and what would compel them to do so. Are they brainwashed? Are they doing that on their own accord? So yeah, that's out on Tuesday. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead there, but do you have anything you'd like to say about Star Wars this week, Melon?
I think the biggest thing for me is just like a little bit of a retrospective on the sequel trilogy.
Oh.
I was listening to an old podcast, not of ours, but of someone I listened to before. It just happened to stumble across my feed, so I went that back and listened to the review. And again, this is not to be negative. You guys know how I feel about the sequel trilogy, especially the Last Jedi. Force Awakens, I think that's a good movie. I can watch that one and be fine with it.
Hmm.
I literally had to go back and like listen to these two particular podcasts about the Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and I am still convinced that they're not that great of films. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm saying is, I'm now looking at it from a different lens of a fan. Of trying to see like, yes, I'm a fan, but as like films, how they were made, like they're gorgeous looking films. However, there's a lot of illogical things that were done in those films, and it's like, man, I'm like, I struggle to watch them still. I struggle to
Yep.
watch those particular movies.
Okay.
However, I'm still going to give them a chance when I introduce my girlfriend to them eventually.
There you go. Now just sitting here thinking about your retort to all of that and going back and I think that what Ryan Johnson created with The Last Jedi, if you take the Star Wars label off of that and you just make them all like generic named characters and generic planets or whatever, it would be an amazing movie, I think. But I think just the ties to Star Wars itself are what actually
Yeah,
get people riled up a little bit, you know? Because like the
right. And it
cinematography,
was
the cool play on the Rashomon kind of thing, like he said, she said, this is what
yeah,
happened, that would happen. Like I like all those elements and like the Force, like talking through the Force with Rank. There's like really awesome lore and stuff. Like if it wasn't Star Wars, I think everybody would be on board. But when you're dealing with fan favorite, beloved hero characters of 10-year-olds and above, that's when you're dealing with things that could go wrong potentially for people.
no, I agree. And I think part of that retrospective was that I just went back and watched Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness, and I love both those films. And it's like, man, JJ really like. I mean, he made those familiar properties really good. I mean, I know people were mixed about Into Darkness, but I love both those movies. And I'm thinking, damn, like if this was the audition tape for Star Wars, then hell, he hit it out of the park. And like with Force Awakens, he did. I give him credit. Force Awakens was a huge success. Or the parts about the movie that I didn't really like thought was weird, yeah, but it wasn't a bad film. Last Jedi, we know what that was, and Rise of Skywalker. I mean, again, I can't really blame JJ for what he had to do with that film. I mean, obviously, look at the situation he was in with, you know, Colin Trevorrow being fired. Disney or Lucasfilm they wanted to redo the script. Then you lose Leia or Carrie Fisher. You know what I'm saying? And then you're coming off the backlash of Rise of Skywalker and how that story, or Last Jedi and how that story ended. So it's like, yeah, he was put in a very impossible position to tie off the trilogy. I still think what he should have done with that film is split that last movie into two parts. because the Rise of Skywalker could have been a two-part film of that trilogy, in my opinion. I think it could have strengthened the trilogy and ended it off better than what we got. But that's just my opinion. But that was my week in Star Wars, trying to really go back to those two films, really try to better understand them, have more of appreciation for those films. However, I still struggle, especially with The Last Jedi. But like I said, those are first world problems. So it is what it is. You're muted.
Oh, the thing is with JJ, he was never signed up to do that third film. So, like, what he was doing, throwing out there in ether with writing, he's like, yeah, I'm going to throw this for Ryan Johnson to pick it up, and I'm never going to have to deal with it again. And then the problem is when he's having to deal with it again, it's like, oh crap, I was not supposed to be here doing this.
Absolutely,
And then
and that's the
it's
thing. Like
like, yeah.
he tried to make chicken soup out of chicken. You know what? With what was given to him at the time. And like I said, it's look. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a storyteller. Like, so who am I to say this? But
Mm,
again, it is what it is. It's a situation. You know, they tied off that trilogy the best they could. Now, hopefully, Star Wars moving forward will learn from what they've learned from and make consistent films. And something that I also went back to my week of Star Wars. So you know how we talked about like the budgets and executives last week,
oh
and
yeah.
why would we pay 150 million or 200 million for a film? So this what in this upcoming weekend, Oppenheimer's coming out with
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Nolan's film. Guess
Yep.
how much that movie's gonna be made for? Budget on that?
The budget on it,
Yeah,
100 million.
yes, 100 million, legit.
Ah, I'm good.
And that's a blockbuster summer movie
Yeah.
coming out in the prime of July. So you know that film's going to be good because one, Christopher Nolan, he knows how to
Yep.
write. He's a really good storyteller. It's like you don't need to make these $250 million movies, and you know they have a lot of CGI in that film because of the old atomic bombs, nuclear
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like you know they're going to use good CGI, and they shot on location. So it's
Mm.
like that film's going to probably make 500 million easily, maybe 600 million.
I
So,
hope, man, because I was sending this to you guys in a private chat. Is apparently Mission Impossible is also not doing so well, at least of opening weekend. Now films could have legs and they could exponentially increase as word of mouth and subsequent weeks, but it seems like it's between The Flash, between Indiana Jones. Now it looks like projections for Mission Impossible all lower than expected. So we were having a talk earlier. It's like that's a whole nother topic for another day. It's like why are people not going to the movies as much? Like what's the deal? What's the climate of the temperature of like why people are doing this? And so I don't want to open a can of worms now because we're on limited time this week especially. But I thought that was interesting. But yes, I'm planning to see either Barbie or Oppenheimer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the Barbie Oppenheimer thing that people are posting in same day because that's a lot of time. But I will at least maybe see one weekend and one the following weekend or something like that because they both have been getting good buzz as far as like early reviews. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to
yeah,
Oppenheimer and obviously seeing Mission Impossible. So we'll see.
yeah, yeah. All right, so that brings us to our show prepper here. If you are listening, you could always watch us live on youtube.com/Starrapter every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're there talking Star Wars. We'd love you guys to join us in our positive community here in the chat room. We're also available on any podcast streaming networks of your choice, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Google Play, anything that can host podcasts. We should be on. Let us know if we aren't on your podcast catcher of choice, and we'll try to fix that. Just look up Outer Rim Transmission. Getting into it, we had a couple releases. I already talked about the one this week, and that is Tales of the Jedi Volume 3. We also have Darth Vader issue number 36 and Bounty Hunters issue number 36. Both of those issues, Bounty Hunters and Darth Vader, are setting up the Dark Droids crossover, and that is imminently abound for August. It's going to be a big crossover, the third or fourth crossover in this era of Star Wars. It's like how much stuff can really happen in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but apparently there's going to be a big techno virus thing going around with the droids and any cyborgs or machine type things. So I will, of course, give you guys the rundown on all those comics that came out this week over on the channel. I have the videos for Darth Vader and Bounty Hunter on the channel right now. So getting into it, we're going to just start off. We have a bunch of news stories. We'll hold them off until next week when Ben's here. All three of us will be here to talk next week about them. So we're going to just cut to the chase. Things that people want to hear our impressions. People want to know if there's any cool Easter eggs that me or you may have spotted in this Ahsoka trailer. But I think the best way to start this discussion is just giving your overall impressions, reactions. What'd you think about watching this trailer? What was your first kind of takeaway from the trailer, man?
Before I get into that, if you guys hear any background noise of like kids yelling, yes, my neighbor kids are out screaming, playing in the street. So give you a heads up on that. Um,
Yeah.
the trailer itself, hey man, we're doing it live. Um, the trailer itself, I thought it was a good trailer for what it was. I mean, look, I'm excited for this property. I think a lot of people know that. For the record, I love the Ahsoka character. Obviously, I love the prequels. I love what they did with Clone Wars. So obviously, that character grew on fans, especially if you're in your mid 30s, early 30s. That character grew with you when Clone Wars came out. That was 2009 when
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars came out. So I'd have been 20 something years old at the time. I'd have been like my mid 20s. Yeah, no, my early 20s when that show came out. So I love the trailer. I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. I'm looking forward to this property. It did what it needed to do to say, okay, we are now a month away. And it was cool to get all the Anakin name drops because now it's like,
Oh.
oh, we're going to see Hayden.
Oh
We're going to see
man.
a Force Ghost Anakin. So that you don't just say he don't say that sentence. Well, Anakin talked highly of you without saying, okay, you're going to see him.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, I thought it was a really good trailer. I loved it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this trailer, Milton. I've been jaded by the Disney Plus trailers, and we've talked about it here on Outer Rim Transmission about, you come out with like a Mandalorian trailer, especially like they'll give you the teaser trailer, then they'll give you an official trailer about a month before, just like how we are on this timetable, a month before Ahsoka. And usually that official month before trailer is just like an 80% rehash of the teaser trailer, and there might be like one or two added things of a ship or something that's like, okay, that's not even that tantalizing. Whereas in this, I there were several moments in this trailer that I was like, oh wait, is Disney like giving us like a movie trailer kind of thing? Because like with Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, like you had those moments where, Kylo Ren's lightsaber red, boom, it turns into a tri saber. You have Last Jedi, Time for the Jedi to End with Luke. Like you have those moments, and in this trailer, I really feel like we had those darn moments in a TV series. And we'll get into these shots specifically as we always do on our breakdowns here on Outer Rim Transmission. But just things that stuck out to me is like we are no Jedi with Baylan right in the beginning there. You have like a really cool R2 lookalike. You have major plot lines that are revealed in trailers, such as Ahsoka being Sabine's master, apparently. You have, Baylan mentioning Anakin, as you said. You have Vader breathing if you listened enough in the background. Like, there's just like a lot of really cool things. Sabine Wren on a speeder bike, just like. So this trailer really did a lot more of, packed more of a punch for me. It got me way more excited. I'll be honest, I've been kind of like temperate on my expectations. I don't know if it's because of Mando season 3, which is kind of so lackluster to me that I haven't been as excited if it was like going into season 2 of Mando or something. It's not that level of hype, but this trailer, as you said, it did its job. I think this is one of the best Disney Plus trailers for a Star Wars series, period. I just got so much out of this, and I think it's just the nostalgia also of just seeing Lothal in these animated locations in live action, seeing freaking Grand Admiral Thrawn like that. I didn't want to really look at the crappy quality pictures from Celebration, so I did not dwell on those in the last several months, but seeing it in a nice 4K quality, it was great because my little backstory of this trailer, how I experienced it was I was literally out the door just about to go to work to drop my girlfriend off at the train station, and I looked over my phone. I was like, oh, we have to like wait another 3 minutes before we leave. We gotta go watch this on the big screen before we go. I wasn't late. I had plenty of time to get to work and all that, but I was like, oh, let's watch this on the big screen. I hate watching trailers on phones if I can't help it. So yeah, we enjoyed that. She's seen my reaction of Grand Admiral Thrawn, where I was in this chair, I just like kind of sat up real suddenly, like, oh my gosh, there he is. Like, so that long story short, I love the trailer.
Yeah, no, I look, I agree with all the points you're making about what the trailer did. And you're right about Disney's known history of recycling information and being cagey with trailers. which I'm sure they showed us some stuff that we didn't see yet, and I'm sure I know they showed us a lot of stuff from the first trailer too. Now the Thrawn shot,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that grainy. I've seen the grainy version like months ago, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, whatever. I'm not going to pay attention to it until I absolutely see, the real shot. And he looked good. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
we'll get to that later, but I was pleased with what this trailer did. I mean, I think it did what it needed to do to prepare. Let's say, hey, the first two episodes you need to be ready for them, and I'm like, okay,
Oh.
because you know how they always do, those trailers we get are going to be from the first two episodes of the
Yep.
show, a lot of that footage. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Rosario, I can't talk today, what Rosario Dawson does with that character. I mean, we've got glimpses of it obviously, but now this is her show, she's the lead, so I'm excited.
Heck yeah. That was the thing you just slid in there about the two episodes, and that surprised the hell out of me. I was like, you watch the end of the trailer. The first two episode premiere, I'm like, yes, they're treating this just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like this is a grand a limited event that we want everybody to just sit down and watch basically like a movie length of an episode. Like I hope they are like 45 minutes long, so it's like almost like an hour and a half or so, like a little sit down on Wednesday morning. And now that I'm thinking about it, the reason why I think this trailer might be better than the other Disney Plus series trailers is because Dave Filoni has always put out amazing animated trailers. Like his Clone Wars trailers, even like the especially like the Rebels, even the mid-season trailers for Rebels were just awesome. They had like Maul and stuff in there, like the stuff that would you make people go what? Like the so now that we know that Dave Filoni is basically, I think he's directing every single episode and writing every single episode, so he's got like basically 100% full control of this series, and I'm sure he's got control of the marketing too, if that's the case. So he's probably like, no, let me cut the trailer. I wouldn't even be surprised if he actually like cut some of this trailer or something. Like, let me show the fans what they want to see. Because I feel like this is for the fans of Rebels, for the fans of Clone Wars. Like, this is my gift to you guys. Here you go. Get excited for August 23rd or whatever the date is.
I can see that. Like I said, it's Dave Filoni, and I do trust his work. Whatever you say about Mando season three, I know that's what it was. I mean, it is what it is. But there are good things about that particular season too. There were some pretty crappy stuff too, but whatever. But with Dave now being in control of a character in a world that he's fully been invested in, I think we're going to get this. Might be the best Star Wars show we get. I mean, and I know Mando season one and two were clutch. This, this
Yeah.
might this might be the best standalone show.
Heck yeah. Let's dive in a little bit deeper, Milton, and see why we are so hyped about this trailer specifically. And I'm going to start us off with classic Star Wars. Classic Star Wars. You're jumping into the thick of it with a ship in space. I know we've been there, done that many, many times, but the fact is we got a new ship design. The back of the ship, it looks kind of like Krennic's shuttle. So I thought that was pretty cool. And next up, we actually get to see them landing on this is a New Republic ship, and what I really like about this show is they're diving headlong into the New Republic, and I'm happy they are doing such a good job of that because we are so lacking what it takes to get an idea of what the New Republic is from the sequel trilogy. We've seen it get blown to smithereens, and then it was just all about the Resistance. So I'm enjoying that. This shot, I know it did not come out great. I wanted to just showcase that there's, I believe, X-wings in the background that look like the ones from The Force Awakens, perhaps. So there's that at least. I have a better image here coming up of Balon. And this guy, this reminds me of the corridor from A New Hope. I mean, he busts in there, orange lightsaber, and just deflecting shots. Or it kind of reminds me of the reverse of Darth Vader in Rogue One. Like this guy with the hood, looking like a complete badass. You know, I just love just this determined look on his face, and he's just walking in with his. I think her name's like, I don't want to say Shiv because that's another Star Wars character, Shreen or something like that. I don't know, but
I think
these.
so. I think that it might have been on that in the closed captions. He might have mentioned that, but yeah, I love this shot. Actually, this was very much Rogue One ish to me. Felt like Rogue One, how it looked in the corridor whenever Vader is wrecking people. Um, she like that girl looks good. Like as a fight, like she clearly they can fight. You know that they can use a lightsaber, which is what I've been asking for the past
Oh yeah.
what 10 years or 8 years since Star Wars taken over. Like, have we ever seen in live action? Honest to God, I wish Ben was here because he would know too. When have we seen a really good lightsaber duel in live action since we've gotten Star Wars with
Oh,
Disney?
you're right. So this might be the
That's
first
what
time
I'm saying.
because Mandalorian we
Like,
had dark sabers versus just like Beskar
yeah,
spears. We had Luke Skywalker just killing droids with his lightsaber. That doesn't.
good
But
Killjoy, and that was probably some of the
yeah,
best saber usage since Disney took over Star
yeah,
Wars. And
yeah.
obviously,
That.
you had Ahsoka versus the Marshal, which she's in this shot or she's in this trailer, which is cool. And
Oh
obviously,
yeah,
like, yeah, so I love that we're seeing, okay, these guys can actually wield a saber. I'm like, this is what, if you're this powerful, you should be untouchable with a saber. I love it.
yep.
They're
I'm
openly using the force like it's nothing. It's like, okay, finally, we're getting like them at their peak of their powers.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of force, this shot here, you got Balon just force pushing two Republic guards, just like nothing out of. I love this the way these guys are just flying, and then you see an A-wing in the background, and he's going up to him, and he's I am no Jedi, exactly like Ahsoka says it, and he just impales the guy with his saber, like, damn, this is getting serious quick with this. The maturity level, just slaying people like that out of nowhere. I'm just like, whoa. And he
Yeah,
looks kind of like Luke Skywalker from Jabba's palace with the way his cloak is. Pretty cool.
yeah, that's what I liked about it. Like, he looked good, like, and he looks menacing. It's like, okay, fine. Like, it's like, okay, we finally got a guy that you know he looks untouchable. You know he looks like a badass, and it's like this is what we've been asking for. Like, and this goes
Hmm.
back to my love hate relationship with the sequel trilogy. Is like the first time you see Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, and he does what he does when he kills was it Lars Tekka,
Yep.
and then he stops the Force bolt or the lightning bolt. It's like, bro, okay, yes, this is our dude, and all of a sudden he loses to Ray. Makes no sense. However, Ray's not beating this guy from what I'm seeing. Like, it looks like Ray shouldn't touch him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see Ahsoka killing him, but struggling at times because he's been around for a minute. You clearly can see it. So,
Yeah, I'm just excited for Force users that are basically Dark Jedi. I mean, I know it's not really a
he,
canonical term or anything, but I mean a Jedi that has fallen, a fallen Jedi that, maybe he's probably not a Sith, but he's fallen from the Jedi Order because the Jedi Order does not exist anymore. So what happens to a Jedi that somehow escapes Order 66? So have these guys been
so think
Inquisitors? Like
about
what happened?
you're right. So think about the timeline where we're at in Ahsoka. I assume this takes place it takes place what between seasons 2 and 3 of Mandalorian, I assume, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I guess like it's like I think it's all linear. I think this will probably be around season three, maybe a little
Okay.
after. Yeah,
So,
something like that.
so Mando takes place 5 years, the first
Yep.
season, 5 years after Return of the
Mm,
Jedi. All right. So the original trilogy takes place 19, 20, about 23 years after Revenge of the Sith. So add on
yep.
another five, so about
Yep.
28. This guy's been around since the prequels
Oh yeah.
because he talks about Anakin. He talks about Anakin like he knew him. He's
Oh
like,
my, I
yeah.
know.
So, so think about it. He's got to be what? Anakin would have been 42 in Return of the Jedi. He's got to be what, maybe pushing 50-ish. His character, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
older.
Mm-hmm.
So Anakin, if he was still alive as Anakin Skywalker, Anakin would be about 48 years old, almost 50 at this point. This makes sense. This is a prequel character that clearly knows how to use a saber and knows how to use the Force.
Oh
This is what
man.
I love about this character. I mean, seriously, there's no way he's weak when it comes to his powers. He's been around.
Yeah, it's nice that
He was around
he
during the golden age of the Jedi.
exactly. And this is one of the aspects I love about Star Wars with these trailers is they give you these mysterious, intriguing characters that you want to learn so much about because they're new to Star Wars. And it's like you're trying to figure out, like you're going through doing the math of, hey, like where does this guy integrate inside of Star Wars? Like how is he going to be different based off of when he was up there with Anakin on the Jedi Order? So, oh man, it's just again, it's so sad that this actor has passed away. Because I could always see it now, like this guy's gonna be like a fan favorite character, and it's like, no, but we're never gonna see anything else of him.
Right. No, you're right. And like I said, it is sad because literally after seeing this trailer, it's like, okay, please tell me like this sounds horrible, but hopefully they kill him off because like you can't bring him back. Like
Yeah,
Stevens, especially if he's such a hit, hopefully they killed him off already and say, okay, look, like we got to get rid of you, blah blah blah. But I mean, look, I'm excited for this character.
Hmm. Now, more mystery unfolding here as we have Shrin, as we have Balon, and what is the other character's name that is the stepdaughter of Bruce Lee or whoever that was with she's like a night sister, I think somebody said at one point.
Yeah,
It's something with an
nah, it's
M, I think.
I forget her name. Yeah, but she's the marshal.
I don't know if she's exactly maybe I guess she is the Marshal for Thrawn, I guess. Like she's but it's
Yeah,
interesting because like they're trying to find Thrawn, it sounds like. And they have
yes.
this interesting, like it almost looks like we're looking at this now, it almost looks like a Stonehenge kind of like thing on this planet.
Mm.
Like what is going on? She's using this hologram, it's setting out they're trying to find Thrawn. You got Ahsoka trying to find Thrawn. You have the Imperial Council, as we've seen in season 3, with because I just watched it the other night with yeah, not Tarkin, ay ay ay, the whole council there, Paleon, all those guys are saying, "Oh, we're waiting for Thrawn's
Yeah,
return." Nobody freaking knows where Thrawn is. Even his closest allies don't even know where he is. So that is
which
what's
which
intriguing
I
here.
hope I hope they explain this better because that's where my only issue is coming in about Thrawn right now is because you saw him. If I mean, again, this is a lot of people who probably was like, "Who the hell is Thrawn? Who the hell is Thrawn?" They never probably watched Rebels, so they probably don't. I'm talking about average fans. Probably
Yep.
never watched Rebels, so they don't know that he went out in the hyperspace with Ezra.
Yeah.
My thing is though, what's this prophecy? Explain this prophecy. Explain, and I'm hopefully they'll do it in the show. Explain the prophecy. Explain like, well, how is he the heir to or heir to Palpatine? Does he know Palpatine's still around? Does he know about Snoke? Oh, he has to know.
Hmm. And
We'll
that
see. I
is,
mean, we'll see.
I like that angle, Milton, about you saying the average viewer might not know who Thrawn is. So my hope, I really hope, like when we see Thrawn for the first time, he better be the most badass villain we've seen in Star Wars in a long time. Like
He has to. He
he's
has to
gotta
be.
give Vader and Palpatine a run for their money. He's got to be the Thanos of this Mandoverse. That's what it is, right? It's all leading up to him. So we can't have some, little pushover Thrawn that just gets defeated at every little turn by the like. I want to see him come in with this grand master plan of his fleet, like he does in the books, and just
Or maybe
overwhelming odds just destroys an entire planet or something. Just I don't know, something to the degree of like you go, oh crap, that's Thrawn. I know that Thrawn, and then the other viewers are like, oh, that's the big bad now. Yeah, I see it.
right. Well, maybe this is the reason why Snoke was created. Then
Hmm.
maybe he is. Maybe it was Palpatine, Vader. During the original trilogy. This is Thrawn's time, but Palpatine is like aware. So he's like, well, let me see how this is going to work out. And something happens to Thrawn, I assume he's going to get axed at the end. And then he's like, okay, I need to now create someone else. Like I need to create Snoke. So maybe the Snoke idea comes from the end of Thrawn at the end of the show. I just only assume that. I don't know anything. But maybe that's where Snoke is created or why he's being created at some point.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't know, but you're right. He needs to live up to the hype.
And here's that other shot I was referencing with a hologram. Look, now this almost gives off World Between Worlds vibes for me. And we know with the first time they showed us the logo of Ahsoka, like 3 years ago, it had that World Between World kind of
Right.
iconography on the title itself, and it's like, what is this? It looks like maybe this is like an old version of a star map, and they have to find this place in the unknown regions that's brand new to Star Wars that we know about. Like I could see that.
Yeah. No, I've always felt like this World Between Worlds angle or concept could have been used probably in the sequel trilogy some way, shape, or form, just to like I guess course correct a little bit, or even just like redo history slightly. But no, I think if this is very much possible for him to use that particular technique to tell some type of story within the story.
Yeah, because Ezra, last we know, Ezra, he's with Thrawn. He's the one that was in the World Between Worlds, so he has that
Right.
knowledge. And whether or not he gives Thrawn that knowledge willingly, if this is indeed the World Between Worlds, or if he's, kind of tortured or something into giving him that information, making Ezra used that ability to get back there through another means, because last we seen it was, I guess, closed off in the Lothal Temple somehow. Um, yeah, it's very intriguing. This is my only gripe with the show is like that's one of the aspects I really didn't like about Rebels at the end is like I felt it was kind of cheap to go in and save
Mm.
Ahsoka that way and develop almost a time travel-esque version of Star Wars. I'm like, no, we don't need that in Star Wars. So I hope we have that baggage from Rebels. Now they're gonna have to bring the baggage back perhaps in Ahsoka. We got to have a really good explanation, and it can't be overused because we have the MCU, we have the dwindling DCEU that have both introduced multiverses that have, in my eyes, also taken away the risk of character fates and all. Because it's like, oh well, you'll just find another version of Barry Allen. You'll just find another version of Scarlet Witch out there if the other version dies. Like it's never they're dead completely. So I just don't want to see that become a thing in Star Wars. Is my only hope.
Right. I think the difference is like right. I think Star Wars fans would riot if we're just doing those stupid tropes of like killing characters off and manipulating it. I mean, I just there's really no place. There's no place for it. However, I do like the world between worlds, concept if they
Okay.
use it
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
If they use it right.
Hmm. Here we go. We got another New Republic again. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's just nice seeing New Republic officers. That's basically the reason why I included this shot in our breakdowns. It's like, yeah, we've seen one of those one of those New Republic officers that was in the ship in episode 6 of season 1, and that was actually, funnily enough, played by the voice actor of Anakin Skywalker, Matt Lanter from the Clone Wars. So we get to see, it looks like that Endor kind of officer uniform. Not much has changed. It's very looks similar to the Rebels. Um,
Mm.
but let's see, going over to the next one here. Oh yeah, this is one of the best shots here. This is a great shot. You can pick out a lot of familiar ships. We're seeing the scale of what is ever left of the New Republic fleet because, for a little bit of backstory, basically a year after the events of A Return of the Jedi, there was a big battle of Jakku, which was like the defeat or the thought of defeat of the Empire finally. And after that, Mon Mothma put in a demilitarization act, which basically brought down like 95% of the fleet. And there's just a little bit of a defense force left. I'm guessing that's what this is. But they basically don't have a large military anymore, which we kind of see that in Mandalorian. Like, we don't really ever see these large frigates or star cruisers anymore. So, this is one of those things, again, with Star Wars, which I love, is the big Starfleet scenes like you see in Return of the Jedi, like you see in Rogue One. You see, we're seeing a Hammerhead ship from Rogue One, from Rebels in there. We're seeing obviously a Mon Cala cruiser and different things. So I'm excited to see more of the actual military in the Star Wars Mandalorian verse here.
Yeah, yeah, I am too. And I'm excited to see on Mothma again. I saw she was in the trailer too. Um, I mean, she plays a significant role, obviously, in the original and post original trilogy. I'm glad that we got what's her name, Guinevere O'Reilly. Is that the
Yep.
actress name? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's playing it again, which is dope. I think it's still a stupid move that she demilitarized them, but whatever. That's just me.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, the Empire's gone. We don't have to check twice
Just
or three
foolish.
times. Let's
I
just
mean,
demilitarize it.
it's foolish because like I know George Lucas when he made the Star Wars, like he based the Empire off of the Nazi regime. And if you look at world history, the Nazis were defeated, but they all still fled to like Argentina, or the United States, recruited a lot of their scientists, and they pretty much tried to build another, I guess, quote unquote, Hydra,
Hmm.
within like Argentina, within our own country. So
Hmm.
it's crazy how it repeats itself in Star Wars with the first
Yeah.
order, and rebuilt. So yeah, it's crazy.
Here's one of our leaders of the New Republic. We have General Harrison Dula. I like how they took the inspiration from her outfit in Star Wars Squadrons, which is like basically right after Return of the Jedi. So she's got that cool leather jacket. Looks really good here, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, like actually wife of Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan himself. So that's pretty cool. It's gonna take a little bit getting used to. I will say that. I was kind of. This is the one thing that it was like a gripe for me is like, okay, her voice doesn't sound anything like Vanessa Marshall to me, and I'm just so that voice is so synonymous with Hera that I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna have to adjust, and I'm sure that'll be fine. I mean, Ahsoka Rosario Dawson was the same way. It wasn't, um, the original actress's name, Emily Eckstein, or I said that wrong. It's not Emily Eckstein, Ashley Eckstein.
Ashley,
Um,
yep.
yeah, so yeah, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. You can't get
Well, the difference
yeah,
with Ashley and Rosario is that Ashley played the teenage version of her, teenager, which is from like what 14 to
true.
17, and Rosario's playing the adult version. So Ashley has more of a childlike voice.
Yes. Good distinction there. Something that we won't have to get our heads around is Chopper is back and looks fantastic. Remember, he's already returned in Rogue One. He had that split second star-studded cameo rolling out of the Yavin base there. But I'm ready to see more Chopper. I'm ready to see him take center stage again. It's gonna be great just seeing his grumpy self rolling around. It was funny because I picked up that droid I showed off a couple weeks ago from Disney World, and it's a C series droid, and it sounds obviously exactly like Chopper. So I'm ready to hear, and I'm guessing that Dave Filoni will probably do the voice for that again.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, honestly, this I'm probably gonna have some haters, but I never was a huge fan of Chopper. I thought he was very much annoying sometimes,
yeah,
but I think that's on purpose because they
it
make his
is.
character kind of annoying. So I'm like, all right, fine, whatever.
That's the charm of him is just he gets under your skin. It's like you want him to do something, and he's like the rebellious teenager. It's like no, I'm gonna not do it and to spite you and screw you, and he's cursing like a freaking sailor probably and whatever. Here is the scene you reference, Milton. We have a grand. It's not, and again, like that's why I think I'm loving this Star Wars trailer, and why I'm gonna love this show is because it keeps bringing those Star Wars archetypal situations, whether it be space fleets, whether it be nostalgic characters, whether it be Star Wars meeting scenes or council scenes, whatever have you. Meeting scenes in general at Star Wars have always been interesting for me. So you have Mon Mothma and you have a bunch of other characters that I'm sure we'll learn the names of, but right off the top of my head, none of them look or seem like we should know them yet. I find it's interesting that they have a grand alien, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm very curious to see the inner workings of the politics. Maybe we'll get more politics for the New Republic, which is, again, something that was direly lacking in the sequel trilogy.
Big facts. I mean, I love the politics of Star Wars. I don't. I mean, I know if you're a 50, 60-year old Star Wars fan, you don't like that. I don't know why, but I loved it. I think it drives the show. It brings something new and fresh to Star Wars. We never got that in the original trilogy. They make reference to it, but again, it builds the worlds of Star Wars. So I think it's a good thing.
Hell yeah. Oh, we have the Lowdown Show in the chat. How's it going, man? We got Edwin in the chat. Go check out his channel. He does a lot of cool wrestling stuff and a lot of Star Wars stuff. All right, getting into we could just have a close up of Mon Mothma. Milton, I know you're a fan of this character a
Yep,
lot.
she's a hottie. I think I think this actress is gorgeous. I just every time she's on screen, like especially in Andor, the way she plays Mon Mothma is dope. I mean, I know the original actress that was in Return of the Jedi, that's who she was, but you can't tell the difference. I love it. I mean, it's amazing. She's a gorgeous actress. She knows how to she knows the character well. She is Mon Mothma to me.
Yeah, it's. I think you're right. Like we're at that turning point now where we've been living with Return of the Jedi for literally 40 years. Some of us, I have not been around that long, but for the better part of my life, I think at this point, a lot of us are now looking to see Genevieve Riley as the image in our head for Mon Mothma because, well, Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi had like a 2 minutes of screen time, maybe not even, probably not even that, and like one or two lines. But Genevieve Riley has really brought the presence of the character to life, and there's been a lot of expanded universe stories, a lot of canon stories with her on in the publishing realm of things, but it's awesome to see her so prevalent, whether it be during the Age of Rebellion or the Age of the New Republic. She's just so front and forward because she is essentially the president of the United States for all of New Republic and Rebel Alliance. She is the top dog. So if you're gonna have a story that's revolving around New Republic, as we're seeing, as we keep saying, oh, there's this thing with New Republic, like you better have the leadership there to give us some explanation of why, because we get that really important dialogue. I know we talk a lot about imagery on this, but pointing out some dialogue, we have Hera, who is probably going to be one of the main characters. She's pleading to whoever, saying like, look, like we don't want to have another war. I don't want to fight another war again, right? Because there's stuff out there, and they're probably not believing that there's this Thrawn guy around still. They're like, oh, that guy's been gone for 6 7 years. He's dead. You know, no, he's out there. I see signs. We don't have a military anymore. Good luck. You know, it's just like,
Well, here's well. I mean, look at the book Bloodline. I mean, I don't know. They don't reference Thrawn in that book. I don't think.
nope.
Like, but I mean, Leia was Leia in that book saying how she felt like the Empire was coming back. Am I mistaken?
Was that?
Bloodline?
I think she was dead in Bloodline. I think.
No, Leia.
I thought you said Mon Mothma might be dead. Yeah, Leia was
Yeah,
bloodline, and there was no mention of
yeah.
Thrawn at that
And
point.
I bring that up because I mean, if you got Hera saying the same thing about Thrawn, she's like, "Hey, we got to figure this out." Blah blah blah. Like something's there. Leia saying it in Bloodline.
Oh
Like
yeah.
so, where? So my thing is, what's Leia doing around this time? Where's Luke? Because clearly Luke and Leia have to have heard of Thrawn. Had to
Hmm.
have known. So like Mom Monster should be like, okay, let me see what Luke and Leia think, or Hera should be like, hey, let me go hit up Luke or Leia. Like they're pretty important.
Yeah, I think what's gonna happen here is Thrawn might be part of this overall plan of Palpatine, where it's like the New Republic is so dead set and dogmatic, just like the damn Jedi Council was back in the heyday of the prequels era, and they're gonna be like, oh, there's nothing else out there, and then they finally decide to attack against Thrawn, and they'll wipe out Thrawn's forces, and they'll think that Thrawn's forces were the last of the remnant, but in fact they were not, and it was Hux and it was all Ray Sloan that were out there constructing the First Order. But by that time, they had thought that Thrawn was the last actual threat. So then they really scaled back. And then when Leia 5 years before Force Awakens decides to in the Bloodline book, they're like, yeah, okay, no, they're all done. Like for real, they're done now. No, they're not. There's still some way out there in the outer rim or whatever. So I think that's a plausible thing that could happen. But yeah, it is frustrating with the New Republic. They're just like so non-military at this point. But yeah, here we go. We got our title character Ahsoka walking down, having a reunion. It looks like from this scene of her and Hera. So we're gonna see what conversation they will be having. And this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. This is a screenshot basically of a Rebels live action sequence here. This is where the series left off essentially is where we see Sabine like on on that tower where Ezra was or where Ezra was and she was looking out to the horizon. We're seeing something like that in this shot from the Ahsoka series. So again, it's so cool seeing all this content come to basically reality, you know? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, you can definitely tell they put some money in this budget, or put some budget into the show. Um, yeah, I think it's well done. It's pretty much a replica of what we saw in Rebels, and even with this shot right here you just posted, it looks good. It's the same shot. We saw this a lot in season one, this particular like bridge or road or whatever it was, and for fans who know the show, this is Lothal. Like this is one of the main planets in the whole entire series. It's a reason why it stood out. It's a reason why it's in this trailer. So I'm excited. I'm glad to see that you now get it in live action.
All right, so I had to pull up Wikipedia real quick because some eagle-eyed viewers on Twitter, I'm not going to take credit for this. This is an E-wing. This ship that we're looking at right now to the right side of the screen. This is an E-wing, and it has ties that go back to Grand Admiral Thrawn. The Republic introduced the E-wing during Grand Admiral Thrawn's campaign to rebuild the fallen Empire. The fighter later served in the fight against the resurrected Palpatine. Built with cutting-edge weapons, shielding, and propulsion systems, the fighter was extremely powerful and well-rounded. It was intended to do something, and it has me open up another page, so I'm not gonna read all that. But yeah, that's cool, man. We're getting like brand new ships introduced uh, that are from Legends, so that's always fun.
Yeah, no, that's hype. I mean, it looks good.
Okay, this was
I mean,
first introduced.
this particular ship can't be just used for a one off. It has to be something important.
Yeah, this ship was introduced in the Dark Empire comics. That's where it was first brought in. So that's pretty nice. This is sick. We got Sabine with the fighter helmet doing Sabine things. You know, she put even a little like Loth Cat symbol on the top there. It's so Sabine. I'm loving it. She's racing that E-Wing as you see it in the background. Just, you know, the need for speed. Looks like Top Gun, Star Wars. Should be fun. Let's see.
Yeah, no, this is within character. I love it. I think they cast it Sabine well.
Oh yeah, and we'll see why exactly in a few more moments here. But just looking back there and seeing the city itself, all the spires, absolutely beautiful. There's so much to glean from these. Now this is funny. This is an Easter egg. This is I think a Lego R2D2 or like one of the first R2D2s ever made in toy form. So it wasn't exactly the replica of R2, but now they're gonna take that concept and make it a whole new droid, and I'm guessing this is the droid that's in the E-wing. You probably can see that if you look hard enough on it, but I haven't. I'm assuming it is in the same sequence with Sabine. Whether or not this droid is gonna get more than like a 1 second of screen time is to be determined, but
All right.
nonetheless, it's pretty cool.
No, it's cool that they're taking like the old, whether it's Ralph McQuarrie drawings or old models of like toys that weren't used back in the day and making them like canon.
Yeah,
Again, that's what we thought they were going to do originally, and it's nice to see that they're putting them in places where it fits.
heck yeah. Here's the sequence I was talking about where Sabine mentions to Ahsoka, she replies to her with the word master. So that is a loaded term. It's like, okay, master in a sense of like, she is just like kind of being her mentor, her guide through the galaxy. Or is there more to it? I mean, we generally look at master as in the sense of a Jedi companionship with a Padawan. So what the hell is going on here, Mel? Do you think that she might have been force sensitive this whole time, or we haven't met, or is this just simply like a title, like her, like she respects Ahsoka as master, not maybe as a Jedi? It's hard to tell, but this is what blew my mind the most, I think, from this trailer.
Hey, maybe she was teaching her how to fight at one point. Maybe it's why she's referring to her as master. Because I
Yeah.
know they show a shot later of her like of Sabine reaching out, like she's using the Force or something, and the guy's
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't have any power or something." And I think it's a swerve for the fans to make us think like Sabine's going to be a Jedi. We didn't get any inkling of that in Rebels. Like we saw that she's a leader, saw that she could pull rank if she needed to, but she wielded the dark saber for some short period of time. But it's like she ain't no Jedi. There was never an inkling to show that. So I think it's just I think she because at the end of Rebels, didn't her and Ahsoka say they're gonna go look for Ezra, right?
Yep.
So I believe that probably during those trips or those travels, Sabine probably learned a lot from Ahsoka about tactics of like military or fighting or defense or whatnot. So that's how she could have been her master. I mean, she's learning from one of the best Jedi ever.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. There is a lot of precedent to be spoken for. We see it looks like there's a little bit of trickery from Dave Filoni. So the ending of Star Wars Rebels is actually going to be a point we get to in this show. It seems like, especially from the trailer now, seeing the trailer and seeing that mural. I think we're gonna actually pick up before we see that ending scene in Rebels in live action, and that's where she cuts her hair, as we'll look at, and all that. So it's interesting, but yeah, because remember we have Trials of the Dark Saber, which is one of the best performances of the character of Sabine of the actress Tia Sircar did a phenomenal job with acting, with the emotional kind of response of Sabine, and she's training with Kanan, and she's using the dark saber and all this crazy stuff. So she knows how to use these weapons. she's going to be using a green lightsaber, and that's Ezra's saber they left behind. So I'm pretty sure it is anyway. So yeah, it makes sense. Like samurai, like you're training with samurai, or you call them master. You don't have to be force sensitive. So maybe that won't be such a specific Jedi term in Star Wars anymore.
Agreed.
Ezra. So we actually get a couple lines from Ezra, and he sounds really accurate. I'm really liking his look, how he's actually speaking. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing actually him in the flesh and not as a little tiny blue hologram.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's going to look like when we actually do see him again and what's he been up to. I think the biggest takeaway is what has Ezra been doing for the how many years he's been away? Because do they say how many years it takes place post Rebels?
Well, let's see. So this is 9 ABY, 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. We know that Ezra went missing about a year before the Battle of Yavin. He's
No,
been
no, no, no.
gone.
You mean Endor?
Oh, this is 5 years. This is like
Remember,
5 years
remember
after.
Ezra. I thought so. I thought the timeline. And I could be wrong here. I thought the timeline for Rebels, like Ezra's on the ship, he uses the Force to hyperspace him and
Yep.
what's her face. I
Yeah, but that was
thought the ending of Rebels was at the end of like Return of the Jedi.
yeah, the technical ending. But with Ezra, that was all
Yes.
before Rogue One. So all
What?
this stuff, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, with Thrawn and all, he didn't exist before Rogue One. Like that takes place a year before Rogue One, and then they do like a flash forward, like several years in the future, and shows like, oh, Heather Hera had a kid, and then you had Sabine going with Ahsoka. Like that's a time
Yeah,
jump.
yeah. I didn't. I clearly not. I have not paid attention. And I swear to God, like I thought Rebels took place. I know it took place before New Hope. I
Yeah.
thought it took place like during like. But you're right. You're right. You have to be. I got my timelines all messed up.
So now that I'm realizing it, it's like holy crap, Ezra by the time of this show has been missing for about 10 years, if I'm doing my math correctly. So that's a
Right, Clone
long
Wars,
ass time.
Rebels. Okay, yeah, you're right because they do jump forward at the end of Rebels and they explain like Endor. I have to go back and rewatch that ending episode because
Me
I
too.
got my timeline all screwed up.
Yeah, and I think as Ben mentioned in our chat, maybe one day if we have a slow news week, we'll kind of try to go over like episodes and things to watch to get you ready for Ahsoka, essential stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
if we have time, we'll try to maybe do that. Won't make any promises, but it's probably worth doing. Something that is really cool and harkens obviously back to Rebels. This image mirrors Kanan's cutting of his hair, as we see it in season 4, I believe that happened. And he's like going on that suicide mission as he feels it in the Force. It could be his last moments, and he's getting ready. He's getting into headspace, and it's just like a ceremonial thing, I believe, to just cut the hair. And so Sabine, I'm guessing, is doing this thinking of Kanan, of course. I love this moment, and this is gonna pack a lot of emotional impact. I feel like,
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it definitely could be if they really play it out well.
yeah. Yeah, the Lowdown Show in the chat is asking, do you think Ezra will show up at the end of the series? I think so. And we still don't know if this is going to be just a single season. It seems like Rosario Dawson obviously is, campaigning for this to be 2 seasons. Whether or not she gets her wish, I don't think it's up to her. But I could also see that the fact that if this is going to be 2 seasons, like the the kind of zinger at the end is the Ezra shows up, and then it's like, oh, all right, now we got to wait another like 3 or 4 years to see what happens next with him, or if it is a self-contained series, we will definitely see him.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, if they do 2 seasons, I mean, it'll be. I would assume they already have that decision made. I would assume it's already like in the books of like, okay, we can end it two ways. Either we're going to end it standalone or have an ending where it's open book for a second season. So I think Dave knows.
Yeah. All right, here we go. It's our thumbnail for this week's podcast. We have Sabine Wren, man, and they nailed it. This is so much to the likeness of the animated character. It's really crazy. We see a couple of these. Like, I'm thinking of Katie Sackhoff and her transformation into Bo-Katan was basically exactly as the animated character. This is on that level for me. I absolutely love this.
Ah, she looks good. I mean, I think again they casted her very well. Like they didn't skimp on finding the best actress for it. So she looks replica, just live action version.
Heck yeah, look at this. We got the dream team together. We got Ahsoka, Sabine, and just off to the right there, we have Huang. Now, Huang is a 25,000-year-old droid, and I know that exactly because it's in the Star Wars Timelines book. It's official, everybody. This is a droid that has been around since the beginning of the Jedi Order, way back 25,000 BBY. So I'm very curious of why they're bringing this droid. Why is this droid important? I'd even know he survived the Clone Wars, frankly, because the last we seen him was in those Young Jedi adventures. And I'm a huge David Tennant fan, whether it be from Doctor Who or anything else that he's been in, whether it be Jessica Jones as Kilgrave. I absolutely love the actor. So to hear more of David Tennant in Star Wars, I hope he's not relegated to just like a little cameo, like one episode thing. Like maybe he could be on the better part of the adventure. And we always need droids in Star Wars. Maybe Chopper's more with Hera, and maybe Hera's not going to be on these adventures as much, and that's why we're going to have Huang as a sort of like pseudo replacement when Chopper's not there. We're going to get the droid with Huang.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I could care less about the droids. It's just as long look, as long I love R2. That's it. He actually served in 3PO. We're just used to 3PO for 40 years, but yeah, let's do something well with the droids because I don't care half the time.
This is a cool image of Rosario as Ahsoka, man. She is into this role. That expression on her face, just the fierceness of it, it is pretty badass. She's fighting an Inquisitor, or at least we think he's an Inquisitor. He's wearing the same gear. Doesn't have the Imperial logo on him, obviously, anymore. Very curious about that character. I think we'll talk about him more, but I just wanted to kind of take a moment to like really appreciate Rosario Dawson to her commitment for this character of Ahsoka. Also, I'm looking at her head tails. They definitely look longer than they did in the other stuff she's been in. So I guess they probably listened to the feedback of the fans, which nitpick a lot of things. So I guess they're like, all right, we'll make the mantrails longer if that's going to make everybody happy.
Right, which I mean that's kind of stupid, but yeah, she looks good. I mean, I think fans need to stop with that nitpicky stuff, especially that's not really important. Again, we never really seen her as an adult until now, so it's like
Yeah.
I just want them to nail her personality, nail the way she fights, how she moves and communicates.
Hmm. So I talked about the Rebels mural before, and we were talking about the epilogue of Rebels season 4, and it is so cool and so mind-blowingly crazy that we're seeing the actual like artwork of Star Wars Rebels being interacted with by a live action character of the series. It's like this weird ass kind of connective tissue that it's like, okay, that's canon. The way that that animation looks is actually what's in the heads of these characters. It is so funny. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's clearly it's just a replica of the cartoon. It looks good.
And fun fact here at Celebration of London, they actually had to have been the screen used mural there on the floor. I got a picture of it. It's on my Facebook somewhere. But it was pretty neat to be in that. It was pretty surreal to be like, oh wow, this is. I didn't even know it was from the show. I just thought they were like, oh, somebody made this, and it's just here. But now it makes sense because it's literally in the show.
Yeah, no, I love it.
All right, we are almost through here. We have the classic Star Wars action of a turret blowing up a ship. I know. Again, Star Wars DNA. You've seen it in A New Hope. I'm liking it. Seeing Sabine piloting the Ghost gun. I can't wait to see the Ghost in live action. We've seen it once in Rogue One, but seeing some interior views is gonna be really fun. Uh, this
Yeah,
is
I thought it.
yeah.
So when they showed that shot, I was like, okay, I'm in. Like the space battles look legit. They're not skimping on the budget. Like it looks
Mm,
like kind of like what was the other show we watched that was like that? Was it Andor?
yep.
Again, Andor space battles
Oh
or the
yeah.
way it's like, oh, okay, they're really not skimping on a streaming show.
Hell no.
So
Hell no. This is a ship. I don't know if this is from the time of the Republic, I think it could be. I think from the Clone Wars episodes, I think Obi-Wan and Anakin might be in this sort of transport, but it looks like it's Ahsoka's main transport when they're not on the Ghost, so that's interesting. I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of toys made of that. Here we go. It's the money, one of the money shots here. Sorry, it's a little dark, the image, but Grand Admiral Thrawn. I know we won't spend much time on this. A lot of you have already seen this months ago. But it's cool to see Lars Mikkelsen. It's cool that they're not just hiding this. It's like, okay, we're gonna put it out there for everybody. There's no use hiding this anymore. You know Thrawn's gonna be in it. You know who's playing him. It's no secret. Here he is. Good. Lucasfilm, do more of that. I'm tired of the secrecy all the time.
Exactly. I mean, it makes no sense to act like that. And I think this might be a flashback because there's no
Oh.
way he looks the same, 10 plus years later after the end of Rebels. Like he has to look different. He has to be damaged. And hell, they went through
Oh.
hyperspace with broken windows.
That's a
So
really
like
good point. Wow, that's a really good point. To see if there is gonna be a damaged and scarred Thrawn.
has to be. There has to be. Like I mean, I know he's a whatever species he is,
Chist, yeah.
but I mean, he's got the humanoid element to him too. So it's like your body can't handle the G's of the hyperspace like that, and again, you had to have fought Ezra physically at one point throughout your time of being in exile. So
Well,
I don't know.
I could
We'll see.
also, yeah, I could also see them. Oh, they got to do it. Like, do a flashback and live action of that whole sequence and how he survives. Like, what happens if Ezra does like a force bubble? I could see that happening, like some kind of force bubble to like survive the vacuum of space.
It's a good point.
I could see that happening. Like he's too valuable to be killed. Like he needs Thrawn's information. And then by the time he gets it, it's like 10 years later, and it's like, oh, the Empire's done anyway, so whatever. This is a scene you foreshadowed before, Milton, about Sabine possibly, maybe trying to use the Force. I mean, you don't just put your hand out there like that without trying to use the Force, unless like somebody's coming up with some kind of blunt object and you're trying to block it with your hand because you're kind of knocked down. Maybe that's simply what's happening, but I mean, it's nice to think about. It's nice to think about.
Yeah, and this is where I said like this could be a potential swerve because I think they could have cut this trailer just to do that to us. I mean, there's no, I'll be shocked. I will say I would probably not like it if she has the Force. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
now you're just giving it to everybody. Like it just
exactly.
there was never an inkling in the show Rebels that she was even gifted with the Force. She's a natural fighter. She's a Mandalorian, but it's like no. We'll
No.
see.
It's kind of funny how the screenshot ended up on the face of this character. I just wanted to showcase one of the renegades that's running around the galaxy that's looking for Thrawn underneath Balon's watch. I think her name is Shrin. And she's going up against Sabine. They're fighting saber against saber. We're actually seeing a saber against saber thing. We haven't seen that since I think Rise of Skywalker. We definitely haven't seen it. Oh wait, no, we've seen it in Obi-Wan because there was that obviously Vader versus Obi-Wan. Okay, I'm talking like
Yeah,
a crazy person.
I was wrong on that. You're right. So Vader Obi-Wan was a good battle. The second time they fought.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, really, when do we get a ball to the wall lightsaber duel like prequel type? Even Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back battle that we were like, oh my god, this was so good.
Mm.
I haven't gotten that yet. I don't care what
And
anyone tells me. Don't tell me that Rise of Skywalker was dope. It wasn't when it comes to that fight. And don't tell me Last Jedi with the fight in the Red Guards that don't count. And clearly Luke and Kylo never fought. So yeah, miss me with that.
another fight that's about to happen. We have Balon and Ahsoka. I think like moments after they ignite, he ignites his saber. So we
This is
got
dope.
this series is billed as a samurai swashbuckler or something like that. So there is going to be a lot of saber on saber action here.
This is very much
Huang,
a
yeah,
Western. I
yeah.
think this is very much going to be like a Western type of squashbuckling Western where it's, the old sheriff meets the new sheriff or hey, that type of thing, as it should be because Star Wars is based off of a space Western opera. So I mean, let's get it.
Mm-hmm. We got good old
And that's
Huang there. Yep.
and that's where he mentioned the whole Anakin Skywalker line.
That is correct. That is correct. He's going to try to get under her skin, maybe try to recruit him to Thrawn's cause, saying, "Hey, we need more. We could use you to help bring a new horizon for the galaxy. Everybody that is an evil person doesn't think of themselves as evil. They think of themselves as their perspective is the proper way and the way that needs to go, but the means of doing so to the outside viewer is evil. So that's what makes up a good villain, anyways. So I'm curious to see more of him. Hugh Wang, of course, can't wait to see that guy. We talked about that earlier. Right. I have a very dark image sometimes when I take these screenshots. I don't know why the image goes very dark. Oh, this is what I was thinking. This is a Sabine using a grappling cord on this character that almost looks like her bounty hunter friend from Star Wars Rebels Season 2. Uh, Katya or something like that. It's obviously a male, but I just thought it was interesting that like the helmet is the same design. So I was like,
Right.
maybe we'll see live action of that character. I'm forgetting her name. She was working for the Black Sun at one point. And finally, this is a question that's on everybody's mind. It's so fun when you have a character with a mask and you're going through every possible combination, permutation, whatever it be, of speculation of who the heck could be under the mask. And it could be as simple as this is the opening sequence of the show, and you just catch up with how good of a warrior Ahsoka is, and she just kills this guy. He's a nameless guy that's
Right.
going after her. I could see that happening within 30 seconds. She kills him, and that's the beginning of the show. But it could also be somebody more important that they don't want us to know right away. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is just a no-name guy like the Knights of Ren that just get dispatched, or do you think there could be more to it?
No, it's definitely not the Knights of Ren because the Knights of Ren were soft and they were trash. He actually looks like he's formidable. I mean, look, it can go either way. It could be a no-name character that gets offed quickly. I mean, we saw that in Tales of the Jedi when in like the last episode where that Inquisitor attacks the village and she takes him out like within 5 seconds.
Yep.
Like, that's and people need.
Yep.
I hope people understand. Ahsoka was trained by Anakin freaking Skywalker, and she was also trained by Obi-Wan freaking Kenobi, and she was also trained by Yoda and Plo Koon at some point a little bit. So like she's got four of the greatest Jedi mentors ever, and that's all culminating in one character. She ain't losing many battles. I'm saying so like this, I can see this ending in 5 seconds. I can see it going for 5 minutes. That's maybe her toying around, and we've seen her toy with people. She toyed with Darth Maul the final time she fought him. And she was wrecking him the whole time. He's been around forever. That should tell you like she ain't no slouch.
Nope.
She's not gonna lose many. She's not gonna lose many battles unless Anakin himself resurrected, came back and fought her, or Palpatine fought her. That's the only way I can see her losing.
Yeah. It's it's definitely going to be interesting. I will see that. I will say that. All right, everybody, that
No,
does.
I was say just to end it like this image is a cool image though. I do like that we're seeing these Inquisitors pop up more and more.
Yeah, they are so prevalent. Whether it be video games, they are all over Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. We're getting them here. They were in animation, in Tales of the Jedi. It's great. It's cool. But they even had an Inquisitor in Star Wars Visions Volume 2, and that was one of my favorite ones because then they even had the Purge Troopers.
Right.
Oh, and Obi-Wan had them.
Which reminds me, speaking of Tales of the Jedi Volume 2, so on Friday, this should have been part of my Star Wars of the week. I'm sorry to jump in here now. At the baseball game, my friend Anthony, who was there with me, all the guys I was with, we all like Star Wars except for my friend Drew. He doesn't really get into it. But Anthony was like, Milton, he's like, you like animation? I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, hey, bro, he's like, I started watching that not Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars Vision season 2. He's like, I love season 1. He's like, but season 2's dope. Blah blah blah. He's like, I love the duel in season 1. He's like, and I was like, you need to watch Tales of the Jedi. Man.
Yeah.
He's like, what's that?
Oh.
I was like, all right. I'm like, if you like Visions, you're gonna love because he loves the duel, the Astro one with like the Mega Man
Oh
looking
yeah, yeah, yeah,
robot,
yeah.
and he likes all of season 2 so far. I said, bro, I'm like, trust me, like watch Tales of the Jedi. But no, that
Dude.
just reminded me of that when
Yeah.
you said Inquisitor and Tales of the Jedi and whatnot. So yeah,
There is nothing better than, at least for a Star Wars hardcore Star Wars fan like us. I mean, I think you can agree when somebody like that is excited to like dive into something new, and you're excited to tell them like, oh, if you like that, you gotta try this, and like gets
Yeah.
them hyped up. It hyped me up. Like my friend just finished Light of the Jedi. I was talking to him earlier today about it. A coworker of mine. I was like, all right, you gotta go and do this book now, and he's like, oh, I already ordered it. I was like, all right, good. So it's like it's always fun when you have these situations where you're people look up to us as like the gurus, right? They're like, all right, what should I watch next, or we recommend this or that. It's like, all right, we're spreading the good, positive vibes of Star Wars. I love it. Absolutely love it. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
that
Yeah.
was our trailer breakdown for Ahsoka. Let us know in the comments, like the Lowdown Show was, in the comments of what your takes of this trailer is. What did you think of the trailer? What are some Easter eggs that you're looking forward to seeing more of? What are you looking forward to the most out of the series? What do you hope that it does? We're going to do more of a preview of Ahsoka later on as we get closer to the August 23rd release date. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for us here this week. Without Ben, but he'll be back, as I said, next week, along with Milton again. It'll be the three of us next week. We have San Diego Comic Con scheduled for this week, and there's going to be a publishing panel and a Star Wars Outlaws panel. So I'm expecting something from the Outlaws panel. We might be breaking down or at least talking about maybe a little trailer or something like that coming out of there for that. So we'll probably touch on that. And the news stories, we know there's the awards that it's been nominated for, different Star Wars series for the Emmys and all that. So we're saving all that for next week. But in the meantime, where can people follow you? And what are you going to be up to this week, Milton?
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitter at Milton Weber 7 or on Instagram at Milton7Weber. This week, just going to be no normal routine. Gym in the morning, working afterwards, spending time with my family, the girlfriend. Actually, she just got back today from London,
Oh,
so I'm looking forward to seeing her this week. Um, no, man, just in any type of Star Wars that I can fit in my life, like I'll fit it in whenever I can, whether that's listening to an audiobook, playing a game, watching a movie, which I actually need to watch movies now on my new 65-inch flat screen. So I'm curious to see what that looks like with the sound bar and how that sounds. So I'll probably try to fit in a Star Wars movie or two time this week.
heck yeah, heck yeah. So much to look forward to, so much to do, so much to absorb with Star Wars, as always. Catching up on the newer, catching up on stuff that you haven't read in 20 years, like I showed off the Tales of the Jedi, Volume 3 there. So you can follow me on Twitter at Starrapter. And you can also, of course, if you're listening to us, you can also watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/Starrapter. I will be painting miniatures probably as I get some free time whenever I have it. I'm usually doing that. And talking about Star Wars comics here at youtube.com/Starrapter. So, and you can also listen to us on any podcast streaming service, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Google, any of those places. Search Outer Rim Transmission. So, for Ben, who couldn't be here, for Milton, for Chris, aka Starrapter, that's going to do it for us here. This was Outer Rim Transmission, episode 114. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you always. End transmission.